Today, I'm going to talk about something that might upset some of you. But I don't care because this info could save thousands of dollars and years of your life. Now, let me be honest with you right away. I spent 6 years getting my pharmacy doctorate degree. I racked up $300,000 in student loan debt, and then I realized that I hated working in that field. Yes, I made six figures after graduation, but I was miserable every single day. And I still remember standing behind the pharmacy counter, looking at the clock every 15 minutes and wondering if this was really my future. And I was one of those success stories that you hear about. I actually got a good job in my field. But most people with the degrees that I'll talk about still have a lot of student loan debt, but they also struggle to get hired anywhere. So let's talk about the top 7 degrees that lead to dead-end careers. And these fields might have some opportunities, but they're often terrible investments compared to the time and money that you'll spend. Now, before we start, let me be clear. I'm not here to crush your dreams, but I am here to give you the reality check that I wish someone gave me when I was 18. No sugarcoating, no BS. Now let's get into it with number 1 on the list, which is a psychology bachelor's degree. Now, I specifically say bachelor's degree here because it's bachelor's only. And I already know there's probably tons of people who are furiously typing in the comments section right now. Shane, psychology is very important, mental health is super important, and people need more psychologists. Yes, I get it, but psychology is the 3rd most popular degree. There's over 120,000 people graduating with this degree every single year. But the brutal truth is there are nowhere near that many jobs for bachelor level psych grads. And to even have a chance at a psychology job, even just an entry level or low level one, you need to get a master's degree at least. And grad school isn't cheap. We're talking another $50,000 to $150,000 depending on the program. And that's like buying a house in some places just to make $65,000 a year. And without those advanced level degrees, if you're lucky, you're looking at low level jobs. Jobs like research assistants that make $35,000 to $45,000 a year and have extremely high burnout rates. And you're going to be competing with thousands of other psych grads for these low jobs. It's kind of like the Hunger Games, but for employment. Now, like I said, I'm not here to crush your dreams. If you're set on psychology, you have a passion for it, you really want to help people, then have a clear plan. Include grad school or find a specific career path that doesn't need an advanced degree. Otherwise, you're buying a very expensive wall decoration. And by the way, all the degrees that I include on this list are common degrees, right? There's some videos where I dunk on like really silly degrees that people get, like an underwater basket weaving degree or a puppetry degree, which literally are real degrees. I'm not even kidding. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about degrees that people commonly get. And a lot of people out there probably think that they're good. Now you might be thinking, well, Shane, as long as you get a STEM degree, you're good. Actually, no. Number 2 on the list is going to be a biology degree. And this is a popular example of a STEM degree that's actually a pretty terrible choice for a lot of people that get it. See, biology is basically the participation trophy of STEM degrees. And over 120,000 people graduate with biology degrees yearly. And almost none of them find jobs in their field without more education. Now, this is similar to the last one where this is a bachelor degree, right? So a biology bachelor's degree. If you get a master's or a doctorate, of course, there are good jobs out there. But so many people end up just getting a biology bachelor's degree. Maybe they think they're going to get into med school, for instance. They end up not getting into med school, and then they're stuck with a borderline useless degree. And a doctor who commented on one of my videos said, I was a biology major. I got into medical school, been a doctor for nearly 10 years now. Biology major is a waste of time. You can get into medical school without it. And this is someone who made it, telling you the degree wasn't needed. And most biology grads end up in totally unrelated fields. And then they wonder why they spent 4 years memorizing the Krebs cycle when they could have learned to code or gained other useful skills. And the truth is, companies want engineers, computer scientists, mathematicians. They don't want someone who can tell them about the mitochondria. And if you want to get into med school or become a pharmacist or a PA, there's much more useful degrees out there because no one cares about mitochondria in the real world. So unless you're 100% committed to getting a master's or a doctorate degree, or you're getting into a professional program and you know what you're doing, stay away from biology. It's a trap.
Quick break. This video is sponsored by me. Most of you don't know that I actually have my own coaching program on personal branding and then growing and making money on YouTube. And this is good for complete beginners, maybe even people who just want to get a job by growing their personal brand, all the way up to people who are very advanced on YouTube. And they get to work directly with myself and my team to help them reach their goals. Now, We are opening up 3 to 5 spots, and this is pretty rare. We usually don't have these open. We usually only limit them to select people. But we're opening up 3 to 5 spots, and you can check those out down in the description and the pinned comment below. And in this program, you'll get to work directly with myself and other people who are highly successful on YouTube. Just as an example, Sean was able to go all the way from being stuck, not making very much money on his channel, to making over $500,000 a month. Now, that's an example of one of my more advanced students, but there's lots of examples of people who started off from scratch and they got to 5K a month, 10K a month, etc. So check that out down in the description and the pinned comment below.
All right, third on the list is going to be communications. And this is a degree that you get when you don't know what to study, but you want to party for 4 years. And that's why it's called the athlete's major. This is the one that football players take to keep their scholarships while doing minimal work. And a lot of athletes still don't know how to put a sentence together.
And I appreciate my friends also, my wife and my girlfriend. My wife.
But you could become a sports commentator, right? Well, that is a dream job for this degree. The only problem is there's probably about 50 of those positions open in the entire country, and they all go to former pro athletes anyways. So the problem here, everyone thinks communication is an easy degree that leads to some vague good job. So if you're competing with thousands of other grads for basic positions, employers see communications on a resume and think this person can write emails and that's about it. That's all they see. They think, wow, you can communicate? Well, so can my 7-year-old nephew, and he doesn't have $80,000 in student loans. And one commenter I saw put it bluntly, I have a comms degree and it's pretty much useless. Not your path to financial freedom. Another person said, I was a mass communications major for a year in college. I left when people told me that they used the degree for bartending. A professor told me that the field had no future. See, when even a professor whose job relies on your student loans says that there's no future in the field, maybe you should listen. So if you're gonna do communications, which is probably a good choice for like 1% of the people out there, first of all, you need connections, you need to be willing to work for free through multiple internships, or you need to have some kind of special skills that set you apart. Otherwise, you will struggle in this field and you will end up getting a job that's completely unrelated if you even get a job in the first place. Next is going to be liberal studies and general studies. And this is basically the participation trophy of college degrees. The I showed up to college and I didn't fail out certificate. And universities created this degree for people who can't decide on a major, but they still want to pay tuition for some reason. It's genius, really. Can't decide what to study? No problem. Just give us $100,000 and we'll give you this vague education that you could have learned by looking things up on Wikipedia. Now, what this tells employers is that you couldn't commit to a specific field. And in today's job market, being a specialist is valuable. And being a generalist with no clear skills is not great. And I saw this comment from someone who had spent 8 years getting their general studies degree. Why? Because they couldn't decide on a degree and they basically bounced around and took a bunch of different classes. 8 years. Imagine spending 8 years and tens of thousands on a degree that doesn't prepare you for anything. That's like going on a road trip with no destination or map. You're basically just burning gas and money with no idea where you'll end up. And that might sound fun, but the problem is it's a $100,000 road trip that's gonna take up 4 or even 8 years of your life. So unless you have a really good plan for grad school or a specific career path, you're gonna be setting yourself up for boring office jobs with limited growth. All right, next is a sociology, anthropology, or archaeology degree. Now, I decided to bunch these three together because they are somewhat similar and they lead to similar outcomes. And honestly, these 3 degrees make psychology look like a great investment because at least with psychology, you have a chance to get a master's or a doctorate where you can land a good paying job. Whereas with these, even if you do get a master's or doctorate, you are probably still not going to land a good job. But Shane, I love studying cultures and human behavior. Hey, that's great, so do I. But you know what I don't love? Being broke and unemployed and living with my parents at 30 years old. Or having to explain to dates that I have a doctorate in anthropology, but I still work at H&M. So with these degrees, it's nearly impossible to get a job in the field, even with advanced degrees. And honestly, basically the only people making money with these degrees in the US are professors. And these are the people that are teaching other people how to get these useless degrees, which kind of sounds like a pyramid scheme. And one user commented that my niece graduated from UCLA with a BA in anthropology, and she's now a bartender. And they added that some people with these degrees work in museums or universities, but most in basic office jobs like cashiers, financial aid, or student services. Not exactly a dream career, is it? So unless you're willing to get a PhD and fight hundreds of other people for an academic job, these degrees lead nowhere. All right, next is art history, and honestly, most history-related degrees in general, and this one breaks my heart because I know people who love this field, and history was one of my favorite subjects in school. And I used to binge watch History Channel documentaries before they became all about aliens and pawn shops. Plus I read a bunch of history books. But the harsh reality is there are maybe 12 well-paying jobs worldwide for art history majors. And they all require PhDs and connections. And most art history majors become tour guides or retail workers at museums. Or they just do something completely unrelated. And if they are lucky to get an art history job, they're probably making about $30,000 a year while drowning in student loan debt. So is knowing the difference between Baroque and Rococo worth $100,000 in debt? I'm gonna say no. And no one outside of a museum cocktail party cares about Baroque versus Rococo. And one viewer commented, my mom switched to a history major to avoid accounting, and she does event planning now and doesn't use her degree at all. And it would probably be way worse today. And the worst part is most of what you learn in these programs you could learn on your own through books, documentaries, and free online courses from places like Yale and Harvard. So you're paying for a piece of paper that qualifies you for jobs that don't pay enough. So if you love history, make it a hobby, not a career. Unless you have a trust fund, then hey, do whatever you want.
What's happening, guys? In the editing process of this video, and I have an opportunity for a select group of people. So these are people who are serious about growing their personal brand on YouTube. So basically, we figured out recently how to grow a personal brand and combine all the upsides of a personal brand with the upsides of automation, right? Using AI, using things like this to basically grow your personal brand 10 times faster, which in the past used to take decades to do. And now you can do it significantly faster. And you can do this to get a better job. You know, we work with beginners that just want to get a better job with their personal brand. You can do this to make money as a side hustle. We work with a lot of people like that. We can do this to make more money if you already have a side hustle or a small business. Or if you're already crushing it on YouTube, we can help you crush it 10 times more. We've worked with people like that as well. I mean, I literally can show clients at each level. People that we've gotten from 0 to over 10K, 0 to like over 30K, from like 1K per month all the way up to 185K per month, from around 30K per month all the way up to over 500K per month. So literally at every single level, and it works for everyone in every situation. With that being said, we are only working with 3 to 5 people, and they have to be people who are very serious, right? People who are dedicated to making this work. So if you think you're that type of person, go ahead and apply it down in the description and the pinned comment below, and you can be part of our group of 3 to 5 that we help. So see you there. Have a good one.
Last but not least on the list is gender studies. And this one has become a meme for useless degrees. And look, I'm all for studying topics that you're passionate about. And I know what some people out there are gonna say. It's not about the money, Shane. It's about personal fulfillment. Get out of here. Universities wouldn't charge you $100,000 if it wasn't about the money. They know exactly what they're doing. You can learn about gender theory completely free online. There's probably great books, lectures, podcasts, and communities on these topics. And they don't require you to go into crushing debt. So if you're gonna get a degree in something practical. Then apply those skills to causes that you care about, right? Be a lawyer who fights for equality. Be a data scientist who exposes biases. And you will have way more impact with actual marketable skills than with a degree that employers don't understand or care about. Now, I don't want to be negative without actually having an alternative for you. First of all, some college degrees are still worth it. I cover a lot of them on this channel. Also, there are some jobs out there that do require a college degree, and they don't really care which one you get. And if you want to get one of those degrees, check out my video that I did on colleges like WGU or Thomas Edison State University, where you can get a legitimate bachelor degree in less than a year. And there's a ton of amazing careers out there that do not require a college degree at all, where you can get amazing jobs. And that's what I study extensively on this channel. And I have a complete list of certificates, certifications, and courses that are either completely free or extremely affordable that will lead to you landing jobs. And you can check that out. I'll put it down in the description and the pinned comment below. But the last thing I want you to do is get completely scammed and get a super expensive college degree that you can't declare bankruptcy on, is not gonna lead to you getting a job, and is gonna land you in 6 figures in student loan debt. All right, guys, so I have to make these videos every once in a while. It's painful reading some of these degrees, right? I don't like seeing all these people that are getting in student loan debt and having their lives ruined by the American education system. With that being said, somebody has to talk about these degrees, and somebody needs to hold these freaking colleges accountable. So comment below which degree you think is the most useless. Also comment below if you've had experience with these degrees, either yourself or a friend or a family member. And also check out my video on certifications that can land you high-paying, in-demand jobs by clicking right here.